What if everything you thought you knew about the Last Supper was only half the truth? Have you ever sat at a table filled with laughter, yet felt an ache of emptiness inside? Or wondered how love can endure when trust is broken? Holy Thursday speaks to those moments, the ones where joy and sorrow collide, where faith is tested and hope feels distant. In this journey, we'll uncover three life-changing truths about Holy Thursday, the most sacred night in Christianity. First, the Last Supper, where Jesus turned bread and wine into the heart of salvation, binding us to his eternal love. Second, the shocking moment when Jesus, the King, knelt to wash the feet of a traitor, redefining what it means to lead. And third, the tearful agony in Gethsemane, where Jesus faced fear and loneliness to redeem us all. These aren't just ancient tales. They're a mirror for our struggles, a light for our doubts, and a call to live with deeper faith. Whether you're wrestling with loneliness, seeking hope, or yearning for connection, this story will touch your soul. Trust me, the sacred secret of Holy Thursday will transform how you see love, faith, and sacrifice. Stay until the end. A revelation awaits that will leave you speechless. Grab a quiet corner, open your heart, and let's dive into the mystery of Holy Thursday together. Are you ready to uncover a truth that could reshape your faith? Let's begin the journey. Long ago, Jerusalem hums with the fervor of Passover, its streets alive with pilgrims and the scent of roasted lamb. Above the city's clamor, a quiet upper room glows under flickering lamplight, its stone walls holding a sacred stillness. This is no ordinary place. It's a sanctuary where heaven will touch earth, where a meal will rewrite the destiny of humanity. Jesus, the teacher and savior, gathers his 12 disciples here, each one a thread in the divine tapestry of redemption. The table is set with unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and cups of wine, the traditional elements of the Passover feast. But tonight, tradition will be transformed. Peter, the rock, sits closest to Jesus, his weathered hands fidgeting, his eyes burning with loyalty, yet clouded by impulsiveness. Beside him, John, the beloved disciple, leans in, his youthful face etched with devotion, absorbing every word. Andrew, Peter's brother, shares a quiet joke, his fisherman's heart steady but uneasy. James and his brother John, sons of Zebedee, exchange glances, their fiery ambition tempered by the night's weight. Philip, ever practical, counts the bread, while Bartholomew listens in silence, his thoughts deep. Thomas, the doubter, furrows his brow, sensing a shift he can't name. Matthew, the former tax collector, marvels at his place among them, his past sins forgiven. Simon the Zealot grips his cup, his revolutionary spirit wrestling with Jesus' call to peace. Thaddeus and James, son of Alphaeus, sit quietly, their loyalty unspoken but fierce. And then there's Judas Iscariot, his face shadowed, clutching the money bag, his heart already drifting toward betrayal. The room hums with their voices, a mix of laughter, questions, and unspoken fears. But something unexpected awaited. The meal was about to become eternal. Jesus stands, his presence commanding yet tender. He takes the unleavened bread, its texture rough in his hands, and blesses it. "Take, eat," he says, his voice steady. "This is my body, given for you." The disciples freeze, their eyes wide. He lifts the cup of wine, its deep red catching the light. "This is my blood, the new covenant, poured out for the forgiveness of sins." The words hang in the air, heavy with divine mystery. In this moment, Jesus institutes the Eucharist, the sacred gift that will bind believers to him across centuries. The Passover, once a celebration of Israel's escape from Egypt, is reborn. No longer just a memory of physical liberation, it now points to spiritual freedom, deliverance from the chains of sin through his sacrifice. The disciples don't fully grasp the weight of his words. Peter shifts uncomfortably, his mind racing. John's heart swells, sensing love beyond comprehension. Judas's fingers tighten around the bag, his thoughts elsewhere. The others murmur, their voices a blend of awe and confusion. The bread they share is no longer just bread, the wine, no longer just wine. They are partaking in a mystery that will echo through time, a covenant sealed in love and blood. The setting is vivid, almost tangible. The rough-hewn table, the flicker of oil lamps, the warmth of shared bread. It's a scene of intimacy and impending sorrow. Each disciple, flawed and human, is woven into this divine moment. Peter's brashness, John's devotion, Judas's treachery, they reflect the spectrum of our own hearts. The upper room is not just a physical space, it's a spiritual invitation. Jesus' actions here redefine the Passover, pointing to the cross where he will fulfill his mission. For us today, this moment asks, do we accept his gift? Do we see the Eucharist as a living connection to his love? Imagine sitting at that table, hearing his voice, tasting the bread. What would it mean to let this truth shape your life? But a shadow was creeping closer. The night held more secrets. But something unexpected awaited. The room held its breath. The upper room is warm, the scent of bread and wine lingering as the Passover meal unfolds. The disciples, still reeling from Jesus' words about his body and blood, share uneasy glances. Peter's voice carries over the murmurs, bold but anxious. The air feels thick, charged with a divine mystery the disciples can't yet grasp. Then everything changes. Jesus rises from the table, his movements deliberate. He removes his outer robe, the coarse fabric pooling at his feet, and wraps a towel around his waist. The disciples fall silent, their eyes wide with confusion. In Jewish culture, washing feet is the lowest task, reserved for slaves, not rabbis. Yet here is their master, their king, preparing to do the unthinkable. Jesus kneels before Peter, the water in the basin rippling softly. Peter, his face flushed with indignation, pulls his feet back. "Lord, you will never wash my feet," he protests, his voice echoing his pride. Jesus looks up, his eyes steady and piercing. "If I do not wash you, you have no part with me." The words cut deep, silencing Peter's objections. Reluctantly, Peter yields, his heart wrestling with the humility of this moment. One by one, Jesus moves to each disciple, his hands gentle but firm. The water splashes, cool against their calloused feet, worn from dusty roads. Andrew's shoulders tense, unaccustomed to such intimacy. John's eyes glisten, overwhelmed by love. Thomas, ever skeptical, watches closely, searching for meaning. Even Simon the Zealot, whose hands once wielded rebellion, softens under Jesus' touch. The room is quiet, save for the soft drip of water and the disciples' uneven breaths. Then comes Judas. The air grows heavier. Jesus kneels before the man who will betray him, the one whose kiss will lead to the cross. Judas's eyes avoid Jesus, his fingers twitching. Yet Jesus washes his feet with the same care, the same love. The disciples don't know Judas' plan, but Jesus does. This act is a scandal, a defiance of every cultural norm. In a world where power means domination, where leaders demand honor, Jesus redefines greatness. Leadership is not lording over others but serving them. Love is not reserved for the worthy, but offered even to enemies. The towel, stained with dust, becomes a symbol of grace, undeserved, unconditional, transformative. The disciples are shaken. Peter's pride, exposed by his protest, lies bare. Judas's treachery, though hidden, is confronted by this act of love. The others, James, Matthew, Philip, grapple with their own rivalries and insecurities. Jesus stands, his voice calm but commanding. "I have given you an example," he says. "As I have done to you, so you must do to others." It's a radical call, one that turns their world upside down. In a culture obsessed with status, where washing feet was degrading, Jesus' action is revolutionary. It's a glimpse of the cross, where he will stoop even lower, offering his life for humanity's sins. The disciples, flawed and human, are being shaped by this moment, though they don't fully understand it yet. But what they couldn't see was even more profound. This act is more than a lesson. It's a mirror for our hearts. Imagine being there, your feet in Jesus' hands. Would you pull away like Peter, clinging to pride? Would you sit silently like Judas, hiding your shame? The foot washing challenges us today as much as it did them. Can we serve those who hurt us? Can we love without expecting reward? In our world where power is celebrated and humility overlooked, Jesus' example is a beacon. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness echoes this night. This moment is a turning point, a prelude to the Passion. Jesus, knowing the cross awaits, chooses to serve, to love, to teach. His actions speak louder than words, etching a truth into history. True greatness is found in humility, true love in sacrifice. Still, a greater challenge loomed ahead. The night was turning. When trust crumbled, a chilling prophecy shook the table. The upper room, once warm with the glow of lamplight, now feels stifling. The taste of bread and wine lingers, but the disciples' hearts are unsettled after Jesus' radical act of washing their feet. Peter, his pride still stinging, clenches his jaw. John, ever close to Jesus, senses a shift in the air. Judas, his eyes darting, clutches the money bag, his thoughts a tangle of greed and resentment. The others, Andrew, James, Thomas, share hushed words, their voices tinged with unease. The Eucharist has bound them to Jesus, but a shadow looms. Then Jesus speaks, his voice low but piercing. "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me." The words land like a stone, shattering the fragile peace. The disciples freeze, their eyes wide, hearts pounding. Betrayal from one of them? The room, moments ago a sanctuary, now feels like a crucible. Peter, ever bold, leans toward John, whispering urgently, "Ask him who it is." John, his face pale, turns to Jesus. "Lord, who is it?" he asks softly. The others stir, their voices overlapping in a frantic chorus. "Is it I, Lord?" Andrew's hands tremble as he searches Jesus' face. Thomas, his brow furrowed, questions his own loyalty. Matthew, the former tax collector, feels the weight of his past sins resurface. Even Simon the Zealot, whose passion once fueled rebellion, wonders if his zeal has faltered. Each disciple, in this moment of raw vulnerability, confronts the possibility of their own failure. Their question, "Is it I?" is not just doubting each other, but a mirror to their own hearts. Have they drifted? Jesus' gaze moves across the table, steady and sorrowful. He knows the heart of every man. He dips a piece of bread in the dish, a gesture of intimacy in Jewish custom, and hands it to Judas. "What you do quickly," he says, his voice calm but heavy with love. Judas's face hardens, his fingers tightening around the bread. Without a word, he rises and slips into the night, the door creaking shut behind him. The disciples, unaware of his plan, think he's off to buy supplies or give alms. But Jesus knows. The betrayal, sealed with 30 pieces of silver, is already in motion. Yet even now, Jesus' love for Judas remains, a final invitation to turn back, to choose grace over greed. The bread, a symbol of fellowship, is Jesus' last act of mercy to the one who will betray him. The room grows quieter, the weight of Jesus' words settling like dust. But a shadow was creeping closer. The disciples' faith was tested. The others wrestle with confusion and fear. Why would one of them betray him? How could someone so close who shared this sacred meal turn away? Jesus' prophecy exposes a painful truth. Betrayal doesn't begin with a kiss in the garden. It starts in the heart. Small choices, moments of pride, drifts of doubt that pull us from God's love. Judas's path began long before this night, with whispers of discontent, glances at the money bag, a heart slowly turning cold. The prophecy of betrayal is the problem the disciples face, a crack in their unity, a test of their faith. It forces them to confront their weaknesses, their humanity. Peter's boldness, John's devotion, Thomas's skepticism, all are laid bare. Judas's choice, though his own, ripples through them, stirring doubt and division. Yet Jesus remains unshaken. Knowing the cross awaits, he chooses love, not condemnation. His words are not meant to shame but to awaken, to call his followers back to him. For us, this moment asks, what pulls us away from God? Is it pride like Peter's, greed like Judas, or fear like the others? The upper room, once a place of communion, now challenges us to face our own hearts. This moment is a mirror for us. Imagine sitting at that table, hearing Jesus' words. Would you ask, "Is it I?" Would you face the cracks in your own faith? We all know betrayal, not just in others, but in ourselves. The times we've chosen comfort over courage, self over service, doubt over trust. But hidden within their story was a promise of hope. Let's hear Jesus' final words. Could a final promise hold the key to eternal hope? The upper room is heavy with silence. The lamplight flickers, casting shadows on the stone walls as the disciples sit, their hearts tangled with fear and confusion. Peter's hands are restless, his loyalty shaken by Jesus' prophecy of betrayal. Andrew, James, and the others exchange uneasy glances, the weight of the night pressing in. The bread and wine of the Eucharist linger in their mouths, a mystery they can't fully grasp. Jesus, his face etched with love and resolve, begins to speak. His voice, steady yet tender, cuts through the tension. Let not your hearts be troubled, he says, as recorded in John 14. The words are a lifeline, a beacon in the gathering dark. This is no ordinary farewell. It's a spiritual testament, a sacred legacy that will carry his followers through the trials ahead. But something unexpected awaited. Jesus looks at each disciple, his gaze piercing yet gentle. A new commandment I give to you, he declares in John 13:34, that you love one another as I have loved you. The words land like a thunderclap. Love as he loves, a love that washes the feet of a betrayer, that serves without reward, that sacrifices all. Peter's brow furrows, his impulsive heart wrestling with the cost. John's eyes glisten, his devotion deepening. Thomas, ever questioning, wonders how such love is possible. This is not a suggestion, but a command, the heart of Jesus' mission. To love like him is to reflect God himself, to bind heaven to earth. The disciples, flawed and fearful, are being called to a love that transcends human limits, a love that will mark them as his own. A divine gift was promised. Jesus continues, his words weaving a tapestry of hope. I will not leave you as orphans, he assures in John 14:18. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, the Spirit of truth. The promise of the Holy Spirit stirs the disciples' hearts. Andrew's shoulders relax slightly, clinging to this hope. James, son of Zebedee, listens intently, his ambition softened by the promise of divine guidance. Even Thomas, skeptical as ever, feels a spark of curiosity. The Spirit will guide, comfort, and empower them, a presence that will outlast Jesus' physical departure. This is no mere consolation, it's a revolution. The disciples, soon to face scattering and despair, are being equipped for a mission that will change the world. Jesus' words are a bridge from this night to eternity, a promise that they will never be alone. Yet a shadow was creeping closer. Jesus' teachings turned to prayer, his voice rising with urgency. In John 17, he prays for his disciples, for their protection, their unity, their joy. Father, keep them in your name, he pleads, that they may be one, as we are one. The disciples listen, some clinging to his words, others wrestling with dread. Peter's heart aches, sensing the farewell in Jesus' tone. John, the beloved, feels a warmth, as if wrapped in Jesus' prayer. The others, from Bartholomew to Thaddeus, are struck by the scope of his love, not just for them, but for all who will believe through their witness. This prayer stretches across time, embracing every heart that seeks Jesus, from the upper room to our world today. Unity, Jesus shows, is not just harmony, but a divine bond, a reflection of the Father and Son. The disciples, prone to rivalry, are called to be one, just as we are. These teachings are a mystery, not because they're hidden, but because they're inexhaustible. Love as Jesus loves, sacrificially, humbly. Unite as he prays, with God and each other. Believe even when the cross casts its shadow. Jesus' words are a dichuk tieng lieng, a testament that prepares the disciples for suffering yet points to resurrection. To forgive the unforgivable, to seek unity in a divided world. The disciples' fear mirrors our own. How can we love like this? Yet Jesus' promise of the Spirit assures us, we don't love alone. His teachings are not just words but a power, a presence, a call to transform our hearts and our world. But what they couldn't see was even more profound. Jesus' command to love challenges us to look beyond ourselves, to serve the unlovable, to heal the broken. His promise of the Spirit reminds us that we're never abandoned, even in our darkest moments. His prayer for unity calls us to bridge divides, to build communities of faith. This moment in the upper room is a spark, igniting a fire that will spread through centuries, from Jerusalem to our homes, workplaces, and hearts. Yet beyond the words, a plan was taking shape. The disciples, unaware of the trials ahead, cling to Jesus' voice. The final teachings are a bridge from the upper room to the cross, from fear to hope, from betrayal to redemption. Jesus' words are a gift, a legacy that will carry his followers through the darkest night. The disciples, flawed and human, are being shaped by this moment, though they don't fully understand it. Yet as we will soon see, the real test was still ahead. Let's follow Jesus to the garden. Ancient prophecies whispered of a sacrifice born in anguish. Night cloaks Jerusalem, the air thick with the scent of olive trees and impending sorrow. Jesus leads his disciples from the upper room, their hearts still reeling from his teachings of love and unity. The city sleeps, but the weight of destiny keeps them awake. They cross the Kidron Valley, the moonlight casting long shadows, and enter Gethsemane, a garden where ancient trees twist toward the sky. Jesus, his face etched with a quiet resolve, turns to his closest three, Peter, James, and John. "Stay here and pray," he says, his voice heavy. The others linger nearby, their eyes heavy with exhaustion. But Jesus walks deeper into the garden, alone, his heart a storm of human fear and divine purpose. The prophecy of the suffering Messiah, foretold in Isaiah 53, is unfolding, and Gethsemane is its crucible. But something unexpected awaited. A battle was brewing within. Jesus falls to his knees, the cold earth pressing against him. "Father, if you are willing, let this cup pass from me," he prays as recorded in Luke 22:42. His voice trembles, sweat like drops of blood falling to the ground. The weight of humanity's sins, the agony of the cross, the separation from his Father, it crashes over him. Fear, sorrow, and loneliness grip his human heart, yet his divine will holds firm. "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done," he whispers, each word a surrender. This is no ordinary prayer. It's a cosmic struggle, the Son of God wrestling with the cost of redemption. Peter, James, and John, meant to keep watch, succumb to sleep, their snores a stark contrast to Jesus' anguish. Their failure mirrors their humanity, their weakness a shadow of the trial to come. Jesus rises, his face pale but resolute, and returns to his disciples. "Why are you sleeping?" he asks, his voice gentle but urgent. "Pray that you may not enter into temptation." Peter stirs, his eyes bleary, guilt washing over him. James and John, roused, feel the sting of their failure. They sense the gravity of the moment but can't grasp its depth. Jesus returns to pray, his heart breaking yet obedient. The garden, silent save for the rustle of leaves, becomes sacred ground. Here Jesus embraces the cross, choosing love over escape, sacrifice over self. His agony is not just physical, but spiritual, a foretaste of the abandonment he will face. The prophecy of the suffering servant, who bears the iniquity of all, is no longer words on a scroll. It's flesh and blood, kneeling in the dirt. But a storm was gathering. Betrayal was at the gate. Suddenly the quiet shatters. Torches flicker in the distance, the clank of swords echoing. Judas emerges, leading a band of soldiers and temple guards. His face, once familiar, is now a mask of resolve. He approaches Jesus, his steps deliberate. "Rabbi," he says and leans in, pressing a kiss to Jesus' cheek, the signal of betrayal, as foretold in Psalm 41:9. The disciples gasp, their hearts racing. Peter, impulsive as ever, draws his sword, striking a servant's ear. "Put your sword away," Jesus commands, his voice firm yet calm. He heals the servant, a final act of mercy amid chaos. "I am he," Jesus declares to the soldiers, his authority unshaken. The guards step back, awed, but Judas's kiss has sealed his fate. Gethsemane is the heart of the passion, where prophecy meets reality. Jesus' surrender fulfills Isaiah's vision of a servant pierced for our transgressions. His agony mirrors our own struggles. Fear of suffering, loneliness and trials, the temptation to flee. Soldiers bind Jesus, their ropes biting into his wrists. The disciples, now fully awake, flee into the night, their promises of loyalty forgotten. Peter's sword lies abandoned, a symbol of his fleeting courage. Yet his obedience transforms pain into redemption. Peter's failure, the disciples' flight, Judas's betrayal, they reflect the human heart, prone to falter. But Jesus' choice to stay, to submit, is a beacon of hope. John the Beloved lingers at a distance, his heart torn. Judas, his role complete, vanishes into the shadows, the weight of his choice yet to sink in. But Jesus stands tall, his surrender not defeat but triumph. This is your hour in the power of darkness, he says in Luke 22:53, acknowledging the moment yet affirming his control. The prophecy of the suffering Messiah, woven through Scripture, is now a living reality. Jesus the Lamb is led to slaughter, his love unshaken by betrayal or pain. Jesus' agony shows us that God knows our pain, that he's walked the path of suffering. His prayer teaches us to surrender, not to despair. His mercy, even to Judas, reminds us that no one is beyond grace. The disciples' failure is our failure, but Jesus' obedience is our hope. Gethsemane is not the end, but the beginning of redemption, a prophecy fulfilled in every drop of sweat, every step toward the cross. For us, it's a call to trust, to pray, to choose God's will over our own. Gethsemane, steeped in pain, is also a garden of hope, where love triumphs, where redemption begins. But what does this mean for us today? Let's explore the legacy of this night. But what does this sacred night mean for us today? The echoes of Gethsemane linger, Jesus' agony and surrender, a haunting prelude to the cross. Yet Holy Thursday, the night that began in the upper room, is not just a story of the past. It's a living call that resonates in churches across the world, from the bustling cities of Texas to the quiet towns of Ohio. This sacred day, the start of the Paschal Triduum, is a tapestry of light and shadow, joy and sorrow, presence and absence. Its liturgy, rich with meaning, invites us to step into Jesus' story, to let his love and sacrifice shape our lives. Picture a cathedral bathed in candlelight, the air heavy with incense, or a small parish where voices rise in hymn. This is Holy Thursday, where ancient rituals meet modern hearts, where the upper room becomes our own. The day begins with the Chrism Mass, a lesser-known but profound ritual. Bishops, surrounded by priests, bless the sacred oils, chrism for baptisms and confirmations, oil of the sick for healing, oil of catechumens for those preparing for faith. The oils, shimmering in golden vessels, are a symbol of God's grace, poured out for the year ahead. In dioceses across America, from Miami to Charlotte, this Mass unites the faithful, reminding us that we're part of a larger story. The oils will anoint infants, comfort the dying, and strengthen the faithful, carrying Jesus' healing touch into our lives. It's a moment of joy, a celebration of the Church's mission, yet it's tinged with the knowledge of the Passion to come. As evening falls, the Mass of the Lord's Supper begins. The heart of Holy Thursday, churches glow with soft light, the altar adorned with flowers, a fleeting beauty before the sorrow. The priest, echoing Jesus in the upper room, breaks bread and blesses wine, proclaiming, "This is my body, given for you." The Eucharist, instituted on this night, is not just a symbol but Jesus himself, binding us to his sacrifice. Congregations from Atlanta to Cleveland kneel in awe, their hearts stirred by this mystery. The priest then kneels as Jesus did to wash the feet of 12 people. Men, women, young, old, strangers, friends. The water splashes, a towel stains with dust, and the room grows still. This ritual, rooted in John 13, is a call to humility, a reminder that leadership is service, that love stoops low. For those whose feet are washed, it's a moment of vulnerability, a taste of Jesus' tenderness. Parishioners linger in prayer, their whispers mingling with the silence, as if kneeling beside Jesus in the garden. The main altar is stripped bare, its cloths removed, its candles snuffed out. No final blessing is given, no closing hymn sung. The church, now stark and empty, mirrors the desolation of Jesus' arrest. This is the liturgy's genius, a blend of joy for the Eucharist and sorrow for the Passion, a dance between light and dark that draws us into the Paschal mystery. But a greater invitation unfolded. The night was far from over. The meaning of Holy Thursday lies in its challenge. Jesus' question in John 13:12, "Do you understand what I have done for you?" echoes through the liturgy. The Eucharist calls us to commune with Him, to let His love transform us. The foot washing urges us to serve, to love even those who hurt us. The vigil in the house of repose beckons us to pray, to stay awake when the world tempts us to sleep. These are not mere rituals, but a way of Zoe, a blueprint for living as Jesus did. Imagine your church, your community, your heart embracing this call. What would it look like to wash the feet of a coworker who gossips, to pray through a sleepless night of worry, to share Jesus' love with a stranger? Holy Thursday is not a day to observe, but a life to embody, a call to love fiercely, serve humbly, and trust wholly. The liturgy mirrors our own lives, moments of joy, like the Eucharist, followed by seasons of loss, like the stripped altar. It speaks to the Texan nurse working late, the Florida teacher facing burnout, the Ohio parent grieving a loss. Holy Thursday says, you are not alone. The secret of Holy Thursday is this: it's not just a day, but a calling. It's a summons to live sacrificially, to love even when it hurts, to trust God's plan through every trial. The Eucharist, the foot washing, the can thuk, they're not relics of history, but invitations to transform our lives, to make every day a Holy Thursday, where love triumphs over pride, service over self, faith over fear. Can we love those who betray us as Jesus loved Judas? The stripped altar, the silent church, the lingering prayers, they remind us that the story continues, from Gethsemane to the cross, from sorrow to resurrection. Holy Thursday is our story, our calling, our hope. Did this part speak to your journey? I'd love to hear what it meant to you in the comments below. Holy Thursday's profound legacy of love, service, and sacrifice calls us to live as Jesus did, transforming our lives from the upper room to the cross, with a powerful invitation to share this truth and join the journey of faith. The upper room fades, Gethsemane's shadows linger, but Holy Thursday's truth burns bright. This sacred night, where Jesus gave us His body and blood, washed the feet of a betrayer, and surrendered in prayer, is not just a memory. It's the heartbeat of our faith. From the bread broken in Jerusalem to the stripped altars in our churches, Holy Thursday weaves a story of love that conquers betrayal, service that humbles pride, and sacrifice that redeems the world. And today the call is clear: to serve without reward as He washed dusty feet. Holy Thursday invites us to transform our homes, workplaces, and communities with His love. Every small act, listening to a hurting friend, forgiving a grudge, praying in silence, echoes the upper room. Even when we feel lost, we're never beyond His reach. This night reminds us that Jesus' love is our anchor, His sacrifice our hope, His call our purpose. And now it's your turn to respond.